Put up on the side. Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Seat at the Table Book Club. And joining me tonight is actually just going to be Brittany. Troy, unfortunately, is having some technical difficulties and she will not be able to join us via video chat, but she will be in the actual chat. So she'll be able to share her thoughts and her opinions on our June book, which I'll have Brittany hold up because I was too lazy to go get my copy.
Right here, I'm doing A Seat at the Table, or not A Seat at the Table, With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo.
Yes, and we have a lot of thoughts.
A lot of good thoughts, finally.
So, where do we even begin?
I think we should probably just start with the general
plot,
I guess. We can start with the plot. That's easy, right?
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward.
It's about it's a high school senior named Imani who is a teenage mom, also likes to cook, and she's trying to basically figure out what she's going to do with her life after senior year.
Yes. Basically. That is pretty much the plot in a nutshell. And then we get to see, Imani's like home life and how she was raised by her grandmother, her abuela, as opposed to being raised by her parents. We find out pretty soon into the book that her mother died giving birth to her and her father just couldn't emotionally handle it. And so he kind of gave Imani to his mother to raise and went back to the island of Puerto Rico. And so she has a very strained, tense, bittersweet type of relationship with her father. She doesn't see him often and she doesn't even call him dad. She calls him by his first name, which is Julio. We also see, what it's like being a teen mom in her circumstances. She has a young daughter named Emma, who she specifically gave the name Emma because she didn't want her daughter to have to be prejudged by her name. I thought that was really interesting. Just she didn't want people to look at a job application and automatically attach a racial identity to her daughter. She wanted to give her a better chance. So she gave her a very white name, Emma, it is. And then we get to see Abuela and just like how she is and the culture. And then there was a lot of stuff about Philadelphia in there too, and her growing up in the neighborhood she grew up in, and that has a lot to do with her identity and not just being Puerto Rican. And she's Puerto Rican on her father's side, Afro Puerto Rican, and she is African American on her mother's side.
Yeah.
We also get to see like her mother's influence in the sense of her mother's sister. Was it her mother's sister?
Her mother's sister.
Who lives in, I want to say it's either North Carolina or South Carolina, and they have a letter writing relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got her best friend.
Oh, Angelica.
Yeah,
she's a treasure.
Angelica is such like a breath of fresh air and like the comic relief a lot of times in the book. That is her best friend, and she came out recently and just navigating that and her identity in high school, having come out at that age, and she's in a very happy, thriving relationship with her girlfriend. And then we have some other side characters that come into play, like her baby's father, who I did not like.
First of all, Tyrone. His name was Tyrone.
I know. I could only think about the Erykah Badu song the whole time. I was like, no, she did not.
Every time she was like, hello, Tyrone. I was like, no.
Yes. I was like, she really went there. She did. When I saw that name, I was like, I'm not going to like him and I'm not going to like his story. And I didn't.
Well, what was it? It was Tyrone. Tyrone was her baby daddy. And then it was Malachi, who was her
love interest.
Yeah, we're going to call him the love interest. Because at one point, she's not interested. In the next second, she's very interested. But that sounds like high school. So I'm just letting it go.
I know. Well, I read it like, it's not that she wasn't interested. She thought he was cute, but she was just, after everything she had been through, being a teen mom, being judged, the way that Tyrone treated her, she just wasn't trying to take it there with him.
Is right. We forgot Pretty Leslie.
Not.
Get. Woo!
me.
We have to literally talk about Leslie after we discuss the other characters, because she deserves her own block
so much. I hated her so much.
I hated her immediately.
Immediately.
The moment they said that they called her Pretty Leslie, it was like I already knew I wasn't gonna like this girl. And then they described her.
They called her that.
It was the fact that she answered to it where I knew. I was like, so she's just she's at a point, or she's clearly one of those girls that takes that as a compliment, but it sounds like she'd be in the group with the mean girls.
Yes.
Basically. So it's just like, okay. So let me think. The story actually focuses on Imani, but I feel like the story also tells a good, about Abuela as well.
It does.
I felt like we was also seeing Abuela not necessarily grow, but thrive as the story progressed. So it was like Imani and Abuela's relationship was a major moment.
Yes.
Okay, let me think. I want to start with Abuela first as our character moment.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to think of the best way, because she has that part in the book where she starts talking about how she is Black and people need to stop assuming that she's not Black, and where a lot of her identity came from was from her Abuela and her father.
Yes.
And I was I'm gonna find the monologue, but I'm sure
find that quote, because it was so powerful. We all listened to the audiobook, you guys, so we are unfamiliar with the actual physical book, but I highly recommend the audiobook, again, just with the Poet X. Something about Elizabeth Acevedo's voice when she narrates these books, you just have to listen to it. But she definitely really made it a point to talk about how people are so quick to misunderstand and are uneducated on Afro-Latinos, and how that's not even something that's recognized. How when people think about these Spanish-speaking countries, they don't realize that, slavery happened there as well, and Africans were dropped off there as well on the boats. In fact, I think there were more slaves dropped off than there were in the Americas, actually. So there is this disconnect, and people just don't seem to understand how someone can be Black and of African descent and speak Spanish, especially Spanish. There are obviously other languages, but especially Spanish. In America, there is such an ignorance behind that. And so she had this moment in the novel pretty early on where she just took this firm stand. Is when she was talking to Malachi, actually.
Yeah.
Because he was like, what are you? Which is such a high school question to ask people who are other. Right. And they're trying to figure you out. They're like, what? You look like this, but I'm not sure because you sound like this and you have this culture. So what? And they can't quite pinpoint. And so she had that conversation with Malachi where he was like, what are you? Because you're light skinned, but what's going on? And she was just like, hold up.
She led him to filth at that part. I was like, well, all right. Because he told her, no, what set her off was because he said, well, your last name is Santiago, so I didn't think that you were Black.
That was funny. I was like, Black? What the hell is Black?
Yeah, he said, well, your last name is Santiago, you're light-skinned, and your hair is wild curly. I assumed you were Spanish. And then she says, my father is Puerto Rican, and he's darker than my mom was, and her whole family is straight from the Carolinas Black. And her hair was just as curly as mine. Not all Black women and Latinas look the same. And it was just so then it goes literally into, I lived my whole life having people question what race I am. Not necessarily the homies I grew up with. In Fairhill, we're mostly Spanish-speaking Caribbeans and Philly-raised Black Americans with roots in the South, which means in my hood, everyone's parents or great-grandparents got some kind of accent that ain't a Philly one. But when people from a different neighborhood first meet me, they wonder why I don't fit the certain molds. And then she literally goes into this whole thing about just the Black identity.
Yes.
And it was just so we're just gonna immediately hit the Black identity. And this is gonna sound shady, and it's fine. I completely understand why certain people felt like they couldn't connect to this book, because of the massive Black moment in this book.
Yes. Yes. That, I mean, it's the kind of moment that confronts you, and it either makes you uncomfortable and it makes you kind of examine why you feel uncomfortable, embrace that, try to learn from it, or it makes people uncomfortable to the point where they're turned off for their own personal reasons, and they're confronted and they don't like the confrontation, and so they're like, oh, I didn't care for it. And so I really applaud Elizabeth Acevedo for making that point in the book and making Imani stand up so hard and so proud. And like, I'm a Black woman. Like, she literally was like, I am a Black woman. Like, I don't know where you're coming from in your mind. You need to educate yourself. And Malachi immediately like bowed down and he was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Like, okay, so we all know, like, we've already know that Malachi is really tall and Imani's really short. So while I was listening to this part, I visualized her turning around, like, you know, her little 5'2" stature, and like straight up at him, like, get it together.
Yes.
This is what I am. And he was probably just like, whoa, like, calm down. I'm just kidding. You're just
I know.
Blackness is
especially because there is such a huge conversation going on right now in the media about Afro-Latinas and Latinos, and how that is, like, there is a certain type of erasure that goes on, because when you think about those countries, they completely bypass the Blackness, and the face of those countries are like the white Hispanics in those nations, and even on television and the media. And so people, to me, I thought it was interesting that people as a whole didn't even understand that Afro-Latinos existed, and in such a huge population. Like, they were so confused by that. And I'm just like, did we forget history? Did we forget the trajectory of the slave trade and like all the ports and where they
forgotten? Why remember it? It makes them uncomfortable to remember.
Exactly. So I really appreciated her doing that in this novel. I felt like that was a huge moment. It was so powerful. What else? There were just so many moments in this book. I feel like the plot wasn't like the usual plot where it's like the story starts off here and then it builds and then it builds and then it builds and then it goes down. I feel like it was more of like a tree.
Yeah, I think it was two, are we gonna say two major sections? So it was, no, three. It was when Imani first, when she was in the cooking class, and when the chef made her throw her plate away, that was a major moment.
Yes.
When they did the winter formal dinner thing, that was another major moment. And then when she actually went to Spain, that was another major moment. Like, I think those were the three major moments of her character build, because the first one was just about her being stubborn and not wanting to accept change.
Right.
And then I think like the actual formal cooking thing was where she realized like she's actually pretty amazing, and like it's okay for her to be amazing and still have her family there with her supporting her. And then like the Spain thing was like the realization that like what she wants is relevant and what she wants can be achieved.
Exactly. Like, so for those that may be confused, that didn't read the novel, one of the conflicts in this novel is Imani is this amazing cook, and she's self-taught, and everything she does is intuitive. And, you know, they say there's magic in her cooking, because whenever she makes a dish and she serves it to someone, they cry or they feel certain emotions, or it makes them remember someone or a place or a thing. And so people have this personal connection to her food. And it's like it's almost like she's putting something into the food. She's putting something bigger than just the ingredients into the food. It's like a spiritual experience when people eat her food and they go through this emotional journey. And that was a very big plot point in the book, because she's in school and she's kind of in her, what is that first class of the day? Advisory. And it's kind of like the same group of kids have been in this advisory since freshman year. And this is where Malachi is introduced into the novel, because he's actually a transfer student from another school from New Jersey. So that kind of was like a new addition to the advisory after like 3+ years. But there's this new elective, and it's a cooking class, and they've never had this before at the school. And she's so excited and she wants to do it so bad, but at the same time, she feels like she doesn't know how she's going to fit that into her schedule. And especially with like the cooking class, you know, it's going to be taught by this guy named Chef Aiden. And also there's gonna be this trip to Spain, and as well attached to the class. So she wants to do it, but at the same time, she's apprehensive because she's trying to figure out how she can afford that, and she's still not sure what she's even gonna do after high school. So she has all of these thoughts, but eventually she does take the elective, and that's kind of where the book takes off.
Yep. But so now we can start talking about her relationship to other characters.
In the cooking class where she's struggling because the class is not about being gifted. The class is about the technicalities of cooking, and she's struggling with that. How did you feel about that part of the book?
Well, I didn't even take that as her struggling with the technicalities. What I took it as was her, because before it was just, oh, Imani can cook. Imani can do, like, she can take a dish and make it magical. But what Chef Aiden was trying to teach her was that it wasn't necessarily about her. It was about the kitchen that she was in. And like, if she wants to be in a kitchen, she has to work with other people. So it's not always what she thinks should be done. It's about what everybody can do at the same time. Okay. So it was the fact that once she was no longer able to single herself out, that's when it got difficult for her. Struggled. Yeah, it was like, oh, I can't be the individual looking out for me. I have to be concerned about other people. Like, I don't care. Like, my stuff is better. I cook better. This food is good. I don't understand why you just won't accept that and let me do what I'm doing.
That's exactly it.
Like, because even her grandma was like, is that really what you want to do?
Yes, her grandma was like, giving her the side eye the whole time.
Right, like that's one of my favorite scenes when she was like, "Oh, she knows. Somehow she knows I stopped going to class." And
her grandma knew the whole time.
I was like, "This is the shadiest mess." Like, I love the relationship between her and her grandma, because it was at the same time it was like grandma, granddaughter, but then at other times like she stepped back and like I guess was trying to teach Imani that like she can do this without her.
Yes.
But I loved when she would be like, "Mija, come here," and I'd be like, "Oh, what you do?"
I know. It was such a sweet relationship, and like how much strength she got from her grandmother and how much strength in turn her grandmother got from her.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was interesting seeing like Imani as a mom and like a teen mom and the struggles of that when you have to do it on your own. And all the classism that was underlying whenever Imani spoke about Tyrone's mother and how his family treated her, I was like, classism.
Like how they were mad that, or obviously, clearly Imani was sleeping with other people when she was sleeping with him, her child, or the fact, speaking of Tyrone's mother, when
I hated her with the burning.
The biggest moment in the book where I was in my car and I was like, oh my God, this woman is trash. When Imani got her phone taken away.
Yes.
And they called Tyrone, but Tyrone didn't answer. So they called his mom, and then his mom went to go pick up Emma. And she was like telling her about how she's a terrible mother, but if Tyrone wants to fight for custody, they're definitely gonna help him. And I was like, I was like, you're such a trash woman. Like, no idea what happened to her.
None.
No idea what happened to her abuela. Emma is sick, but you want to sit here and just berate this poor woman who has been taking care of your granddaughter for the past, 2 or 3 years by herself without the assistance of your trash son.
The granddaughter that you wanted to have aborted, by the way, she was going to pay for the abortion, and Imani said no.
Right.
B, she never allows her son or forces her son to take accountability.
Right.
The son always gets away scot-free. Like during that whole conversation, like the fact that she wasn't like, angry at her son equally for why he didn't answer his phone and put all the blame on her blew me.
Right. Like, so they called Imani, then they called your son, then they called her abuela, then they called you. You want to figure out where your son was when he wasn't answering the phone?
She has like no concern about that at all. She's just all about Imani. She's all focused on like, where were you? What were you doing? You're unfit. You're probably out, like fucking off. Like you're not responsible. I'm like, when has this happened? It's one thing if it's a pattern of behavior, but this has never happened in all the years this little girl has been alive. And you can't give her the benefit of the doubt? Like, what if something really horrible happened?
Right. And then as far as she was concerned, at the very same time, she was freaking out because she thought her grandma was going to a bunch of doctor's appointments.
She did.
She's like, oh, God, grandma died. So like, it's like, dang, ask her if she's okay first. I mean, okay, yeah, she is a teenage mother. You don't like her. You think she's slum. But like, she's the mother of your granddaughter who is also very sick. Can you at least make sure she's okay? I don't know. I felt like,
do you think
I get it,
was like guilt on her side and she was just like, you know, when people feel guilty and for something, and instead of just like coming out and being like, I'm sorry, like I shouldn't have like tried to make you abort my grandchild, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that, they just like internalize it and turn it against you?
No, I just think she's bougie.
Yeah.
Because even down to her calling her baby girl, how you gonna tell her what to call her daughter?
That was crazy. She was like, I'm not even gonna know her name. I was like, okay, and who are you?
I was like, first of all, her name is Emma. I promise you. Like,
best.
And then she somehow still mad. Like, you got respect from her when you didn't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
You called her a trash mother, told her how to parent, all this stuff.
Threatened to take her child away.
You did buy her medicine, so I guess that's good for you, sis. But the way she said it's like, I just didn't assume you had it. And it was like, you couldn't just give the medicine for the baby. You had to add your extra 2 cents in. Like, this is why she don't like y'all. I was just like, oh my gosh. It drove me nuts. Ooh, Troy said, I love the generational curse Abuela had to deal with. She raised Tulio, then Armani, and finally helped raise Emma. Her arc on her needing to be more than Abuela was refreshing.
Yes.
The woman was the worst, talking about her mom when she threatened to take her to court.
Oh my God. That had my blood
boiling. Like, woo!
Because you already have Tyrone over here acting a damn fool. I'm like, first of all, your son is irresponsible. Ooh. I was like, did I just
in my office? And he called her a slut, and I was like, they're like, Brittany, what's wrong? I was like, I'm listening to an audiobook. I'm sorry.
Like
he was like, I heard you have boys over at the house with my daughter. Bruh, what? Like, mind you, didn't we just hear the backstory about how when she was pregnant and he told her like the obviously he's sleeping with other girls because she's fat?
He's trash.
Yeah, I was like, he's already mad at him, and then that scene happened, and I was like, just throw the whole baby daddy away.
I know he's Emma's father, but he's trash.
Right. Oh, well, speaking of Tyrone, how did you feel about Tyrone at the end?
Still trash. He's trash all the way. Like, my thing is, he never really apologized to her verbally with words. All the things that he put her through, that was my thing. Like, if he had just said, you know what, I'm really sorry. But he never really did.
I honestly think that she's never, like, I think the way that family of his is together, I don't think she's ever going to get an apology because they still see themselves above her.
Which is my problem.
It's like, yeah, it's like when Tyrone was like, oh, I want to see more of Imani, or I want to see more of Emma. I miss her. Like, I want to be more active in her life. And I was like, does that include paying bills, bro? Because, like, she pays everything.
I was so glad when he was like, you know, I'm getting a job. I'm going to be more financially. The fact that he came from the family he came from and the mother didn't think it was disturbing. This is the same woman that you're insulting that has done everything financially for your grandchild. She's never asked you for a dime.
Right.
And you're sitting here calling her unfit. Like, the cognitive dissonance just blew me. I was like, wow.
She was like,
oh, she's over here with her hand out, asking for a check every month. Like, oh, we need this, we need that. She's never said that to you guys.
There was no child support, which I wish there was, but I understand that in particular communities, they don't even deal with that.
They don't.
It was just like, it's like every time Imani dealt with him, like, I wanted to just be like, it's okay, girl. It's okay.
I
like,
thought
yes, he made you try again.
He was a narcissist and he was kind of manipulative.
Yeah.
Because he saw Imani, he knew she didn't really have any experience in relationships. or with sexuality, anything. Like he just saw somebody, I think he saw like somebody that he could kind of like manipulate and use.
And admits to the fact that he manipulates her even to that day. Because remember, like after she hung out with Malachi and then she got that call and she was like, so you have people watching me? And he was like, well, yeah, I got to make sure my daughter is safe with her mother. And I was like,
what?
Spend less time spying on her and then spend more time being an active father. Try that.
Exactly.
I don't think it will work. It's like, oh, and then it's like, it's funny. We went from Tyrone, so now we're going on to new boo Malachi.
I know. I really appreciated Malachi. Like, he just felt like such a fleshed out, fully formed character. Like, he was such his own person. And I wish we had gotten more background on him, because that situation in Spain with those little kids on the street triggered him so bad.
Yeah, like, I mean, we knew that his little brother was killed, but we don't know why. It was bad enough,
right? Gang violence?
I know it was gang violence, but it was bad enough to get him sent away. So, like, but they kind of brushed over that. And I was like, so
I wanted to know more.
Killed, gang activity, and you were sent away? Tell me more, please. Mm-hmm. Like, why? Like, it's got to get bad for you to get sent away.
Yes. I wanted to know more. I was like, okay, what else happened? Like, what's the tea? Like, what's going on?
And I didn't find, well, the way that he was written, I didn't find him to be obnoxious. So, you know, like sometimes when he encountered Amani, or as he called Santi, and like the way that he talked to her, I felt like it was like, wow, he actually sounds like a nice guy in the book. He doesn't sound like he's just trying to play her. And it's just because, ironically, I was comparing him to the guy, to X's love interest in Poet X. I was mentally comparing the two of them the whole time.
I like Malachi better.
Oh yeah, I like Malachi much better than X's love interest.
Me too. But Malachi to me just felt like a kid that I've known.
Yes.
I could know. Like that young man that you're like, he's a good kid. Like he's a good boy. Like he's really trying out here. Like he reminded me of someone that I've either known in the past or I could easily know. He was very relatable.
Yes. Or like the scene where he was in the kitchen with Amani and her abuela, and like he was telling the story, and like abuela just walked up and just hugged, like grabbed into her bosom, and I was like, that's real.
I know.
Like if you've been in anybody's grandma house and you haven't gotten a bosom hug, I don't know what you're doing with your life, because like that's the immediate, baby, I like you. Like come here. So we're just like, I know. Those were my three. Obviously, Amani and Abuela. I loved them. Well, and Angelica. I loved her.
I loved Angelica. She brought so much.
I loved her
and comic relief.
Well, I mean, yeah, she was the comic relief, but she was the way that Black girlfriends should be depicted in all stories, but they're not. Like they're usually depicted as being like thought pockets, or being always mean with an attitude, or being the one that's kind of your friend but not your friend, like Pretty Leslie.
Yeah, the ones that are competing with you,
right?
Really like rooting for your downfall,
right? And Angelica was the complete opposite. She was always down. I loved when she would be talking to Amani and then tell Amani, before Amani even spoke, I know you're already having these battles in your head. Dramatic. I can't stand it. Like it
was really like her sister. She had such a sisterhood and such a bond. Like when Imani talked about how much Angelica was there for her when the whole school turned against her when she was pregnant. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, because the whole school turned on her when she was pregnant, and then the whole school turned on Angelica when she came out as gay.
And they stood up for each other and they stood with each other. And I love that image of them like walking hand in hand and being like, what?
Right. And always being ready to fight for each other during those hard times. And it was just like, this is the type of friendships that should be depicted between Black women, but aren't, because they don't sell enough, apparently.
Yeah.
Because this is the kind of relationship I have with my friends. So when I see Angelica and Imani, I picture my friends and me. I'm like, this is a real friendship.
Yes.
I can see Like, first of all, she cooked this whole menu for old girl and her girlfriend.
I know, that was so cute. Oh, Angelica in Love is so cute because you can tell like she usually tries to put up with like this tough demeanor. And her talking about her girlfriend, and like we never got to meet her girlfriend, which I was kind of sad about.
We did.
Did we?
They went to Disney on Ice.
Oh,
that was the first.
But they didn't really focus on her like that.
No, because they were focusing on the fact that Emma was lit, jumping between Imani and Angelica's lap. Also, again, loved Angelica's relationship with Emma.
Yes.
And then, of course, they had to focus on Malachi and Imani. But I loved everything about Angelica. Graphic artist, top of her class.
Yes.
Like, she was a perfect, like, it's like, wow, look, finally a Black girl that's not fitting like every stereotype you can imagine.
She felt like a real person, not like a caricature or like a stereotype or some kind of weird 2D. Like, she also didn't feel like a plot device or someone that was just there to move the story along, or just some random, like, oh, here's a character, here's a sidekick. She did not feel like a sidekick.
No character in this book felt like a plot device.
None.
Every character had some kind of development throughout the story that involved Imani at some point in time.
Yes.
Because on the opposite side of Angelica, we have Pretty Leslie.
But even Pretty Leslie had depth to her, and we found out a little bit more about her and why she was the way she was.
I still hate her.
Still hate her. But
because in the beginning, when she was trying to shade, when she told Malachi that that Imani was a single mother, I wanted to come
the wrong way so much. What?
I wanted to come to the book and slap her.
Well, the fact that she used it as a negative and she was trying to like frame Imani in this negative light because she has a child really rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, girl, gross.
Yeah, it was this, and then it was blatant. It was like, oh, I mean, how are you and your daughter? And I'm just like, girl, I would have came across.
Okay.
Like, I would have came right across that threshold between us and just clocked you right in the mouth. She's fine. Don't mention her ever again.
I know. I was like, the audacity to even fix your mouth to bring my daughter up.
Right.
Who are you?
And then, well, granted, at this part, I started loving Malachi when he like basically shaded the crap out of Pretty Leslie and was like, "You want to go for ice cream?" I was in my car, and I remember screaming. I was like, "Ah!"
For those who haven't read the book, Malachi asked out Imani for the first time in front of Pretty Leslie while Pretty Leslie had just finished trying to throw Imani under the bus for having a child. She outed Imani basically for being a teen mom in front of Malachi. And of course, Malachi didn't know because him and Imani had literally just met. They were barely friends. They barely really had any conversations. So it was none of her business, and it was not her right at all to put Imani's business out there. Like, my thing is, Pretty Leslie reminded me of those characters in those young adult books and new adult books that I hate, where they pit girls against one another because of a boy. And what I loved that Elizabeth Acevedo did is that Imani never took the bait.
Right.
She never tried to fight Pretty Leslie for Malachi. She never sunk to her level. She was never like petty in that sense. She always defended herself and stood up for herself in a very graceful boss type of way, in a way where she always held her head up high. And she was just like, my daughter is fine. My daughter is good. Thank you for asking. Like, what? Like, she was always like very like, I would say very class.
Uh-oh. Oh no, I think we lost connection. Wait, nope. Are you back?
I'm back.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah, it dropped out on us for a second.
What is going on in the chat?
It says no video.
Okay, hold on.
It's back. Okay.
Okay.
You guys can see us again?
Sorry, you guys. My internet connection today is crazily not good. This live show has had some technical difficulties.
It's okay. It's because we really like the book. So
I know whenever we like the book, all of these technical difficulties. Whenever we hate the book, everything's great, crystal clear, everything's enjoying.
Let me think. Who else did we not cover? No, I think we covered all of the side characters too. Oh, we can just talk about Spain by itself.
Yes.
So, well, I loved the fact that even though
about Julio enough.
Yeah, I was gonna say we haven't talked about Imani's like other family members. So I loved her aunt.
Me too.
Even though they hadn't actually, like been physically in each other's lives, like they had a true connection. When she said that she scrubbed together all the money from the family to make sure that she could go, I was like,
oh, I teared up.
Yeah, I thought that was because that's another thing about family. It's like family supports family. If you ask for help, family's gonna try.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh my gosh, I love my Black people, even in this book.
I know. Coming together, always supportive, like always come through in the clutch. Because, so for those that don't know, Imani came up with this idea once she kind of hit her stride with the cooking class, and she decided to stop being so stubborn. She came up with this idea because they had to fundraise for the Spain trip. And the idea was they were going to cook the food that they made in class and sell it during lunchtime. And then they're going to cater the winter formal and sell the food and raise money for their trip. And everyone has to raise a certain amount and have a certain amount for themselves to be able to go. And so she was short. And she knew she wasn't going to be able to afford it because of, just being a teen mom and like abuela's expenses. And abuela, they did go through this whole spiel about how abuela used to be this like amazing seamstress. And then she had this horrible accident when Imani was like in middle school and she couldn't work anymore really. So I couldn't understand if she was on disability or if she just had limited hours or what was going on, but she couldn't really fully function in her former job anymore. So their finances were tight. And what really pissed me off, I don't know how you felt about this, Brittany, what really angered me was Julio and how he never helped them and how he was so busy in Puerto Rico with all of his causes. So Julio literally leaves his daughter with his mom to raise because he's just so emotionally broken from the love of his life dying, which I get. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but that doesn't mean stop being a father. But that's a whole nother discussion.
I don't get it.
Why
did he take Imani with him?
Anyway,
why didn't he take Imani with him?
Well, instead of financially helping out his mother, who is raising his daughter for him, even instead of enjoying her, later years in life, he is in Puerto Rico doing all these causes and being a whole social justice warrior out there and never sending any money to abuela, never, taking care of Imani, never taking care of Emma, like just literally leaving everything on their shoulders. Ooh, to the point where Imani had to get a job, and the job she had, when I tell you her boss, that's who I hated more than Pretty Leslie. Her boss. Ooh, don't get me started.
Failure from start. I was like, sir, you do know you are nothing, right? Like
trash to the 10th power. So Imani has to have a part-time job, and she works at a place that kind of reminded me of like a Whataburger. Wasn't it called Whataburger? What was it called?
Yeah.
Burger John, but it reminded me of like a Whataburger or like, like the bottom of the barrel burger place that nobody really goes to unless it's like your last resort and everything else is closed because their food is fake and it tastes pretty bad, but you're like, I'm trying to be PG in this live, but you're like, whatever, I guess I'll go here. That's where she worked. And clearly she wasn't raving about the food. So her manager was always on her. The way he spoke to her about being a teen mother, grinded my gears. So long story short, this is a tangent, but long story short, her manager fires her without firing her because he calls her into this meeting because she let him know that she needed to take some time off to go on the Spain trip. And he's like, well, you already took some time off to go on some Disney on Ice thing, and you've done this and you've done this and you're unreliable. And I know you're a mother. Like the way he said it.
When he said, you're a mother, you should be wanting to make sure you could provide for your child. I was like, who?
The level of condescension.
Who the
is that? I don't even know if that's the right word. He was so condescending, is what I'm trying to say. He was so condescending, so rude, so uppity and like highbrow for no reason. You're the manager of a burger place. That's not a bad thing, but not performing surgery here. This isn't life or death. Like, she's literally just at the counter in a burger place. It's not that deep, sir.
She volunteered to work extra
to cover the hours that she was missing. He was not willing to work with her whatsoever. And he almost took pleasure out of the fact that he couldn't help her. He took pleasure out of the fact that he was basically like another obstacle in her life. It was just sick. I hated him. And he didn't fire her, but he basically told her that he was cutting her hours. And she understood because he had done that to other employees where he cut their hours so much that it cost them more time to work.
He was too much of a coward to actually fire them. So he would force them to quit because he was too much of a coward. Also, when she told him, I'm going to tell my abuela to pray for you, I was like...
I was cracking up.
I was like, oh yeah. She's like, nothing worse than having a Latina grandma put a hex on you or through prayer. Yes. Okay. I was like,
his life's about to be ruined.
Right. I was like, he probably almost got hit by a bus today.
Oh, I hated him. But anyway, back to what we were talking about.
Who were we talking about before we went on that rant?
Spain.
Yes.
So she didn't think she was going to be able to go on the trip, long story short, because she couldn't come up with the money, even after all the fundraising efforts. And then, just in the nick of time, she gets this amazing email from her Aunt Sarah. I think it's Aunt Sarah. Who that's her mom's sister. And they've never met in real life, but they correspond via email or letters. And she's like, I got the family together and we got the money together and here's the money for your trip. And when I tell you, I teared up legitimately because that was exactly what she needed to be able to go on that trip. And it's like, for someone, for like a side of the family that she's literally never met.
Yep.
Oh, I just loved it.
I just appreciated it because I felt like, again, it was another example of like her needing help and her family coming through. Everybody but her daddy. But
I had so many issues with Julio, and he did not redeem himself to me by the end of the book.
He didn't to me either because
I didn't care. I was like, it's too late. She's graduated from, she's 18. Like, she's 18.
The moment it became clear that the reason he left was because like he couldn't live in Philadelphia because of the memories, why didn't you take your daughter with you? Like, I get you were hurting because you lost your wife, but your wife died having your daughter. You couldn't even have the decent.
Here's my thing: you could have gotten therapy and counseling to get over your grief and heal in a healthy way.
Something. The fact that he just abandoned her,
literally abandoned her.
It left
birth, y'all. At birth.
Yeah, at birth, he was like, I can't do this. So Abuela literally raised her from the moment she came out of her mother's womb until
literally.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the fact that Abuela never judged her son. And she never took sides. Because also, like, Julio would come to visit. Sorry, what?
Because every time she said something about Julio, she would tell her, she'd be like, nah, he's family. Family is family. I'm like, so he's still a jerk.
Fact. I mean, he's still like an absentee father. Let's
right. Like,
to the point where you call him Julio. You don't even call him dad.
Right. Also, I was like, you could have gotten with your new boo sooner if, your son had acted like a father.
Yes. That would have given her more time to like live her own life. And we're talking about Abuela, but basically Julio does come to visit periodically, but what is it, like in the summertime, right, that he comes?
Yeah, he comes for like a month or something and like sleeps on the couch. But then again, he does this cowardice thing where he doesn't ever say goodbye. He just
leaves,
disappears.
Literally.
that's my issue with him. It's the disappearing thing. It's like, do you not realize how bad your daughter is hurting? Like, the men in her life are unreliable as crap.
Yes.
And the only other man that's been consistent in her life is Tyrone, who treats her like a secondhand hoe.
He treats her like an object. Tyrone treats her like an object for his amusement.
Yeah. And then tries to say, like, well, you're the one who said you didn't want to be in a relationship with me. And it's like,
because you were cheating on me. What a shock that I would not want to be a part of that.
Oh, wow. She had respect for herself. Darn, Tyrone. Like, the men in her life, well, except for Malachi, the men in her life literally created barriers for her, because, you know, when she would do those internal monologues and start talking about her relationship with Tyrone or her relationship with her dad, at the end of it, it'd always be like, and that's why I feel like I can't be like, man, like, even though she's got these women in her life, even her advisor was another strong woman in her life who kept her from going to that other school that would have kept her from graduating. The women in her life were so strong and so present. Even with all of that, she was still struggling because what the two men in her life did.
I was kind of wondering if Elizabeth Acevedo was trying to say something about the men in the Black community, low-key.
Look, I don't know. I thought,
am I reading too deeply into this?
Well, no, because then we have Malachi and we have Chef Aiden.
That's true. They are the positive, strong. Although I didn't get a read on Chef Aiden's race though.
No, she said that when they met him, he was a Black guy.
Oh, okay. I completely missed
a Black bald guy, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have that part marked.
I seriously missed that because I did not know that.
Yeah, because I think they said when they first met him. So I took those. I'm like, okay, so we have two positives and we have two negatives.
Yes, that's
and
true.
Then the two negatives turned out not. I'm not going to say that they're not trash because they're both still trash.
Trash, honey.
In terms of stepping up,
they try to redeem themselves.
They stepped up for Emma.
They did.
That's basically what Imani needed anyway. She doesn't need them to grow. She just needed somebody to make sure Emma was okay.
So what's going on in the chat?
I wish Elizabeth wrote more books.
You said what?
I wish Elizabeth wrote more books.
She will. Give her a chance. This is only her second one.
I know. You know, I'm super impatient. I want more.
Okay, so I'm trying to keep up with all of these comments. Let me know if you see anything that stands out.
Oh yeah. Me and Troy were laughing because you said Whataburger. We're like, hold up now, like Whataburger is not trash.
I know. I didn't mean Whataburger.
But I'm like, she meant McDonald's.
No, I actually was thinking about Good Burger. Whataburger came out instead.
Thinking about the fictional place?
Yes, because that place sounded so trash that it might as well have been fake. I mean, technically it was fake, but that's what it sounded.
It's been forgiven.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no. Wait, did we actually no, I think we actually talked about all of our good points of this book.
We haven't talked about Spain yet. We need to go a little bit more into Pretty Leslie.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the negative of the book. I was like, now we can fully deep dive into the negative. That is Pretty Leslie.
Pretty Leslie was this spiteful. Okay, so we find out Pretty Leslie's like motivation for the way she's been treating Imani in Spain, because they end up being roommates. So okay, so they go to Spain, the entire cooking class, and they stay with different families. Host families, and they're kind of paired off, and Imani and Pretty Leslie end up being roommates. So Imani's like trying to be nice, even though after everything that Pretty Leslie has done and said to her, I was shocked that she was willing to be that cordial, because I would have been like, don't talk to me, don't look at me, don't breathe at me, but you over there, you are invisible, like I don't care. But Imani actually went out of her way to be like somewhat cordial and like, you know, like, hey, we're roommates, like we'll look out for each other. And Pretty Leslie was not very receptive, and she was just kind of like, we're not friends. But
right.
during their time in Spain, Imani gets introduced to the chef that she'll be working with, and I can't remember this lady's name. It's gonna bug me.
Ooh, hold on, I'm gonna look it up because I forgot her name.
She was cool. I really liked her.
I liked her because she was basically Imani in Spain.
She literally was. But all of the kids get paired off with different like chefs, and they're all like different. Like Malachi's working somewhere else. Pretty Leslie, I think, was working in a bakery.
Mm-hmm.
So she was working in this lady, was it her restaurant?
Yeah, it was her, because she had like a little bistro style kind of place where he actually worked next to the chef.
And I think Chef Aiden, no, not I think, I know Chef Aiden had kind of communicated to her like Imani's talent and her aptitude. So Imani was kind of like really growing and learning during this part of the book, because
her name was Amandi.
What was her name?
Chef Amandi.
Amandi.
Yeah.
Amandi. Because she pronounced it.
Yeah.
Pronounced it different in the book. But so she was like learning all these things because Chef Amadi was like pushing her and being like, I want you to make this, like I want you to make this, and giving her like full-on meals and courses to create and stuff like that, and being like, what would you think would go with this, and what would you think would go with that? So Imani was learning a lot. So Imani's having the time of her life, and it gets to this point where I think they were there for a week, I believe, a week or 2 weeks, I can't remember. And the first part of her trip, she's basically just going to work and then going back to the host family, going home, and she's being very good. And then she realizes that the other kids are like going out, they're going to bars because they can drink in Spain, they're going clubbing. And so she has an opportunity to do the same thing, because her and Malachi kind of decide that they're going to go hang out with one another. And this is when we finally see Imani and Malachi's relationship turn romantic. Because up until this point, Imani has been holding Malachi back with like at arm's length and kind of been like, no, like, I don't know, I'm not sure about this. And so Malachi has been like, well, we're going at your pace, like we'll be friends, like I'm cool with us being friends, like we don't have to be. Because of what she went through with Tyrone, she came into her relationship with Malachi with all of these like preconceived notions, like, oh, he's gonna only want me for this, and he thinks I'm easy because I have a baby, and he thinks this. And Malachi basically spends all this time like debunking all of her preconceived notions, and is like, no, actually, no, like, no. And so they've been pretty much just friends up until this point. And I would say that this was a first date for them. Wouldn't you say that, Brittany?
Yeah, I'm gonna consider it a first date, because the other time it was supposed to be a date, she bought Angelica.
Exactly. She literally friend zoned him. When he asked her out, and he friend zoned him immediately. I was like, wow, okay. So they're in Spain, and they have this little moment where they're about to finally kiss, and then I did not see this coming. I will give this up to Elizabeth Acevedo. I didn't see this coming. This little boy comes out of nowhere, y'all, and snatches her purse and just takes off.
I was like, oh, wait. First of all, I need to slow clap for Elizabeth, because she took the corny romantic scenes.
Yeah.
That I would really roll my eyes at and be like, just kidding. It's actually a robbery.
No, because it was hilarious, because she set it up like they're like looking into each other's eyes, like, you know, they're like leaning in, everything's like it's about to happen, and then all of a sudden, bam, her purse gets snatched by this little boy, and he just takes off.
Yeah, like it was like a what happened? It was like, yeah, I reached up and then I felt something tug at my arm, and then I lost my purse, and then the whole scene just
like that. And let me tell y'all, Malachi did not miss a beat. When I tell you he ran after that little boy, like it was like her purse got stolen. It's like her purse got stolen, and Malachi started running after the kid. Like there was not a beat missed.
Yeah, like Troy said, when the boy said, when they finally caught the boy and he went, I wouldn't have stole from you if I'd have known you were black. Y'all run fast. I died.
I know. I was like, the audacity.
I was like, we gonna make sure we hit all the moments. Like,
I know that part had me weak. Like Malachi was not playing around. He was like, oh no, I'm gonna get this purse back. And then he did, and I was so impressed. And Imani was even like, I've lost track of where Malachi is. Like, he's running real fast. Like, I'm not really sure. Like, I'm just kind of, I'm gonna catch up at some point. And then this is kind of where we get Malachi being triggered because the little boy is like very young. And Malachi and Imani is kind of like, okay, you know, let me get my purse. Like, it's cool. Like, let's let it go. And Malachi does not want to let it go. He's holding onto his little boy's arm, and he's like, no, ask him, because obviously Imani speaks a little bit of Spanish, so he's like, ask him why, ask him why, ask him why. And Malachi's very angry, and Imani's just kind of like, it's okay, like, he's a child, like, let it go. And Malachi will not let it go. And so Imani finally asked the little boy, like, why? And the little boy, after the comic relief part about, you know, I wouldn't have done it if I known you were black because you guys run fast, he admits, he's like, my sister is hungry, my little sister is hungry. And Malachi's whole demeanor just instantly shifts, and you can tell his mind is just has gone somewhere else. Because when Malachi briefly talked about his little brother being gunned down due to gang violence, he talked about the responsibility of being an older brother and how he didn't really know what to do with himself now that he didn't have a little brother to look after. Like, and so I felt like in this moment, it wasn't fully like written out, but you could just see Malachi going back to another time in his mind of like when his little brother was alive and he's like taking care of him, I'm sure, or something like that. Because he doesn't really say too much. He just kind of freezes, and you could tell that he's emotionally like left the scene. And
Yeah.
they see the little boy go into this alleyway and like his little sister and things like that, and it's just so freaking sad. They do give him some money, like Imani gives him some money, and like it's just sad, you guys. I was just like, oh my god.
Um, before you continue this thought, there is a noise coming from your mic. I have no idea what it is, but it's like beeping. Actually, now it stopped, I think. Did it freeze? Uh-oh. Oh, man.
I hear the noise. Can you see me?
um, I can see you, yeah.
Do you still?
But for some reason, there is a noise that's coming off your mic now. I have no technical difficulties are really trying to get us today.
Can you still hear it?
Yeah.
What is going on?
It just started randomly too. It wasn't the whole, it hasn't been there this whole time.
That's so crazy. I heard it in the playback. Let me see.
Yeah.
I still hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do about that. Today's just
Sorry, guys. Troy said this live is a mess.
this live is trash, just like Tyrone.
And Julio. Let's not forget Julio.
I will never let it go.
Just, but I mean, I'm trying to. No. Okay, wait. So Malachi, we'll make this part fast for anybody who's annoyed by the sound.
I'm so sorry.
So after the scene, that scene where Malachi was like, I guess he kind of just blanked out on us. That scene is why I really wanted to hear more. Like I was hoping that they were going to go for a walk and talk.
Me too.
But then they ended up going and seeing other kids and like meeting at the bar, and that's when
we can go more into Pretty Leslie. If you guys are okay with this really annoying sound, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to figure it out. Let me see. Hold on 1 second.
Pretty Leslie. Let me think of the best way to do. Okay, so I'll paint the scene for anybody who hasn't read the book. So this is also the time frame where a lot of them are finding out if they got accepted into colleges and things. But because they're in Spain, the legal drinking age is 16, so a lot of them are taking full advantage of that. So they're in the bar just getting lit. Pretty Leslie is there. Pretty Leslie is there sipping because she did not get accepted into the. I guess she didn't get accepted into the colleges that she wanted to, and so Pretty Leslie is lit, not in a good way. I feel like as soon as Imani walks into that place, she is an immediate target on. Like Pretty Leslie is immediately on her. Like What did she say to her? The first thing she said to her.
It has something to do with like, isn't it like her and Malachi are together or something like that? Like it triggers.
Oh yeah, because she was really jealous of her and Malachi, so she immediately attacked her for that. And then Malachi basically shot up like, "Girl, I know you're silly. Don't play."
A little bit of a background: Pretty Leslie this whole time has been trying to get with Malachi, and Malachi has been her friend only, so he says, according to him. They've only just been friends. I don't know if I believe that. But that's what
Me neither. Actually, I did not believe that they were just friends.
I didn't believe it either, girl.
Yeah.
Not for Pretty Leslie to be behaving the way that she was. It was a little bit too much.
It was almost as if he had told her one thing but did another thing.
Yes. It's almost like he didn't
That's none of our
intentionally lead
business.
her on, but I almost felt like there was definitely some type of like unspoken agreement there that wasn't fulfilled on Malachi's part. So
Yep.
It's kind of like how you can fall into a situationship because you don't speak up.
Right. And I feel that's kind of what happened to her.
I agree. So Pretty Leslie's already bitter. So she basically gets super drunk and makes a complete fool out of herself and says all of these horrible things because she's drunk, and then she throws up on her own shoes. She got like that's it in a nutshell. Like she gets sloppy drunk, she's clearly upset. She says all this horrible stuff, and then she throws up on her shoes, and that kind of ends the night because then the bartender kicks them all out of the bar, and he's like, "All of you Americans gotta go." So they get kicked out, and because she's rooming with Pretty Leslie, and they're living with the same host family of this lady. She takes her home. She like Imani is such a good person. She like makes sure Pretty Leslie gets home. She takes off her shoes. She gets her in the bed, all that stuff. And so the next day, Pretty Leslie is just like suffering from a hangover and also like conveniently doesn't remember anything that happened the night before, anything she said. So Imani's pretty upset with her, and Imani now has to like be like, well, let me just give you a rundown of how shitty you were last night. And this is when we finally get Pretty Leslie's like confession / motivation for why she treats Imani the way she does. She starts going in about, well, you just have loyal friends and you have this charmed life and everything just goes well for you. And now you have Malachi and you have this and you have that. And when I tell you this just was not enough justification for me, I was like, okay, so the girl who was severely bullied for being pregnant at 14, ostracized by school, is now a teen mom and doesn't get to live a carefree like teenage life, whose like baby daddy did her so wrong. I'm not seeing the charmed life here. Whose like mom died at birth, like abandoned by her father. But it just goes to show you perspective. So Imani is just kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I'm dealing with this. And Pretty Leslie's like, yeah, but people are always loyal to you, and like guys always like you, and and I'm just like,
right, like just admit the whole reason you didn't like her is that you like Malachi.
That's really what it was. It was like she was trying to be all deep and be like, oh, you just have this great life, and I just don't. And I was just like, no, it's because Malachi doesn't like you and he likes her. That's really all it is.
Like, yo, insecure, just, ugh. She
bothered me.
Life.
And then she had this deep moment where she was just like, I want to be remembered. She has this whole speech.
Well, yeah, because she's also the first person in her family to graduate.
Yeah, so this happened before the bar incident. This is when her and Imani had kind of started to warm to each other a little bit. Before Imani went on the date with Malachi. So there you go. Everything is Malachi related, and so that she gets triggered. But they had kind of started to get along because she gives Imani this whole speech about how she's the first person in her family graduating from high school. She wants to be remembered. She wants to be someone great. Typical like I want to be somebody type speech. But then of course Imani goes on a date with Malachi in Spain, and that just makes her hate Imani again. So there's that.
Yep. Oh, and she gets rejected from her college choice.
Yes, she got rejected from the college she wanted, and I'm just like, you be alright. I had no sympathy for her, none.
I
was like, thank you, next.
I was like, and that's when you threw up on your shoes.
Like, karma is Oh,
Every day.
oh gosh. So I guess we can start talking about the end of the book and how everything starts to wrap up here. So everything kind of happens
Well,
at the same time. Isn't there's that storm in Puerto Rico, right?
yeah, it's a potential storm happening in Puerto Rico. I don't think the storm actually happens though.
No, but it kind of worries
Um,
them, and they're trying to get in touch with Julio and trying to convince him to come to the States.
yeah,
Meanwhile, Abuela has finally had this speech where Imani confronts her and is like, "You keep going to all these doctor's appointments. Like, what is wrong with you?" And at first, like during the first confrontation, Abuela is like, "Well, I just need to have Abuela time. Like, I just need to have a time where I'm not Abuela and I'm not, Julio's mom, and I'm not this and I'm not that, and I'm just me, and I just need me time." And we all knew the whole time. We were like, "Nah, this
right.
is not
Definitely knew she was getting her max on.
okay." So Abuela finally comes out and admits that she's been in a relationship with this guy that we literally meet for 5 seconds.
Yep,
Because
the one that takes her to the airport.
he takes her to the airport, and then doesn't he like pick her up from the airport too?
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe so. I don't get this guy's nationality. I want to say he's Eastern European.
yeah, I
I'm
think
checking my
so.
notifications right now. I believe he's Eastern European, and so I was trying to check to see if that awful noise is still there. It is.
Yeah, it's still here.
I don't know what's going on. I'm so sorry, you guys.
Yeah, we're just this is just one of those moments.
Ah, but yeah, so Abuela comes out and admits that she's in a relationship with this guy. Meanwhile, Imani's still trying to decide what she wants to do in terms of like after school. And this kind of the way that Elizabeth Acevedo writes this part is Imani kind of keeps it a secret from the reader until the very end, what she's decided to do when it comes to
Yes.
college and things like that. And then we get a visit from Julio, and he comes and he tries to redeem himself. It doesn't work because I still think he's trash. But
Imani still thinks he's trash.
Imani still thinks. Do you want to talk about this part?
No, like, okay, so remember how, okay, so Imani is struggling because she got accepted into a really good school.
Yes.
Her abuela saying, you need to go to school, you need to get a degree, because with a degree, you're unstoppable, which in a lot of situations is very true. But then Imani is playing with the other side where it's like to have a daughter. Is it really responsible of me to not get a job right after high school? Like I should be wanting to do more for my daughter. Like I shouldn't be still relying on you or anything like that. So she literally gets to the point where like that scene where Malachi comes to her lunch and him and Angelica like pretty much confront her, basically get her to open up about her emotions.
Yes.
And it's just like, okay, well, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna pick? And then we get it to where she's at the chef. She shows up at the restaurant, and I was like, no, so is she not going to college? Like,
I
man,
know.
she go to college. And then it's like, oh, so she's gonna go to college part time and work here full time while her dad's still in town. And Tyrone is taking the responsibility as a father, and Abuela is now married to new dude. Like,
Yes.
I
Everything
was like,
kind of
that
comes
doesn't
together.
work.
Yes, everything comes together really nicely. Like as she finally makes a decision on what she's going to do, and it's the decision that works best for her.
Yep.
Tyrone decides to step up more, and he's going to have Emma a little bit more and take more responsibility, and also financially help out more. Julio comes to the States and decides that he's seen his wrongs, and he's so proud of her. Oh, okay. So Julio's like all of a sudden here, and he's like, "I'm here for your graduation," and Imani's like, "You are."
Yeah. He's like, you know why I never eat your food?
This goes to show you how bad off their relationship is. Like she's like shocked that her father is here to see her graduate because she was not expecting him to be there. And then they kind of have a come to Jesus meeting where the whole book Imani has been biting her tongue and holding back the words that she's been wanting to say to Julio. She has a lot of resentment towards him, and she finally just comes out and says it. And she's just like, where have you been? Like, what the hell? And then he the confrontation also happens around her food because he only ever eats his mom's food when he comes from Puerto Rico, and he was so he when he comes, Abuela's actually not home, and it's just her, and she's cooked, and he's like, "Oh, did mom cook anything?" And she's like, "No, like you're stuck with my cooking, like sorry." And then he's just kind of like, "Well, have you ever wondered why I never wanted to eat any of your food?" And she's like, "No." And he's just like, because like when I eat your food, like I literally can't, like it reminds me of your mom, like it's just too much. And you can kind of see Imani like not really taking that as good enough anymore. It's like that's always
Yeah.
like, oh, your mom, it's just so hard for me, your mom. And like, I'm
And then
not
after that,
saying
he
this,
was like, "Yeah, how'd you think it was for me, Julio?" It's like,
right? It's just not a good enough excuse for me. Like after 18 years, bro, like you should have gotten some healing. But anyway, so this big moment where Julio finally eats her food and he starts crying because what we talked about in the beginning about Imani's food and how it really brings things out of people. But he does eat all of it, and they just kind of have this talk, and he just kind of is like, you know what, like I need to do better by you. I'm gonna stay longer. I don't know how long, but you need help with Emma. You need this. You need that. I'm gonna try to actually be there for you and be the father that I wasn't for 18 years. I'm gonna do that now, conveniently, when you're 18.
yep. I mean,
I'm
that's
not
basically
talking Julio.
the end of the book is that everybody stepped up, basically.
Basically.
And I was like, I'm satisfied with all of y'all helping her, but y'all are so trash.
Oh, and she and Malachi kind of decide to take their relationship to the next level.
Oh, yes, she actually claims him as her boyfriend in front of Tyrone.
Yes, I was like, I'm proud of you.
She was like, "Yeah, you do need to take more because I have a life now. You need to be active." I was like,
Yes, snap.
I was
There
like,
was
"Tell him,
there was
stand up for yourself."
stand up. There was this really infuriating part where Tyrone, just to piggyback off of when Tyrone was like, I have people watching you, just make sure my daughter's okay. Tyrone goes literally off the deep end, and he's just like, well, I didn't think you were gonna date. You said you weren't gonna date. Okay, so she was just gonna be single for 18 years, raising Emma. Is this? I just want to be like, Tyrone, are you
That was a
real?
typical
Like,
toxic.
what's going on?
That was a toxic man that is in every book.
Toxic
That was a toxic man in this book,
masculinity.
basically.
But Tyrone literally had the nerve to fix his mouth to say, well, you said you weren't going to date, and you said you were going to be single, and you said you were going to wait for me. What? Well, maybe we could try again. Well, maybe this. Well, maybe that. Like, meanwhile, it comes out that he definitely has Emma around other girls when he has Emma on his weekends, and he's at the mall with his daughter with other girls. And meanwhile, Imani's never said anything. Imani doesn't care. And he hears one dude shows up to her house, and all of a sudden he's like, I can't.
It's that S boy mentality.
Yeah. Tyrone really, really pushed my buttons. I really disliked him. Him and his mama. You and your mama.
So I was just like, I don't.
Tyrone, his mom, Pretty Leslie, and the manager could just go off into a deserted island in a boat that's like on fire.
Emma's young enough so she won't remember him. It's
She
all fine.
won't. She won't miss him. He didn't take her to Disney on Ice. She won't even
Right.
remember.
If Malachi's there, he's ready.
Exactly. So funny. I cannot.
So I guess our next thing is one, we're gonna be on time for our next show.
We're gonna be on time. We're not gonna have these technical issues. You know what?
Right.
Maybe we should not live stream on Saturday.
Well, yeah, but we might also have to try it on one of our. Like, if your internet is filing out on us, we could try it on mine
Yes, I think
and
that's a
see
good plan.
if that helps. But I have no idea what the ringing noise is. Like, I'd have to Google that.
I would probably have to restart the live, and I don't really want to do that.
Right. And then we also need book suggestions for next week.
Yes. So we're thinking about what to do for July to kind of have you all vote. So we're gonna have um we're basically open for suggestions. So whatever you guys think, I think I already know what book I want to do, and it is. I kind of want to get out of the young adult genre, but then this book kind of caught my eye when I was on Amazon, and now I'm like really curious about it. So I think I
No,
will
like I feel
definitely
like as long as it fits the person of color author or rules, say what you want. Doesn't matter what genre it's in,
thank you, Brittany. Thank you.
because we're technically all adults here.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about this book. I hope that it's as good as it sounds. So I can't remember the name of it right now, but I am really supportive of more and more Black authors writing just books about Black people just living their lives and in these interesting plots, and not so much this like trauma porn type stuff. So I probably won't suggest anything too like serious, because all of the serious books are very triggering to me and I don't enjoy reading them like at all. So
Yeah.
this book was more of like a romantic comedy type of situation. Let me see if I can pull it up on Amazon.
Yeah, I'm
Let's
trying to
see.
look for because I picked the book, obviously, but now I can't find it.
Yeah, it's described as a debut young adult rom com about an African American ballerina who finds love on the road to an audition.
That sounds cute.
Right, very cute, very light. It's by this author named Kristen Forrest, who I've never heard of her, but this is her debut novel, Christina with the K, Christina Forrest. So
Mm.
I guess that will be my suggestion, unless I find something that I like better. And I'm very curious to see. This is going to be shade, but I'm very curious to see the race of the boy that she falls. Troy, where were you in this moment? Are you in the chat? Because it doesn't mention it, and I'm just like, oh, please let it be a black male. No offense if it's not, but I'm just like,
I hope so, but
I'm like,
what genre is this? Is this YA contemporary?
mm-hmm.
So
Nothing against
because it's
interracial
YA
romance.
contemporary, I'll be shocked if it's Black love.
What?
I'll be shocked if it's Black love if it's
I
YA
just don't
contemporary.
understand why they're so scared to do that. Like, nothing against interracial romance at all, but it almost seems like the safe choice. Like, oh, let's make one of the major characters of the majority. So we'll make one of the major characters white. It's a romantic book. Okay, we'll make the guy a white guy, and that will make everyone feel comfortable. I'm like,
Yep.
really, guys?
But I mean, I'm totally down to find out. Troy said, "Don't bring me into y'all mess like she's not already here."
That's my only issue. I once again I have nothing against interracial romance. I really don't care, but it is starting to look very suspicious and like weird to me. Like I'm like, this is weird. This is weird.
Yeah,
Just like
it's the
if
popular thing right now. So.
it would be weird. It is weird. Just like if every single book written by a white YA author had the white female protagonist and the love interest was always a black boy. Wouldn't that be weird to people?
Yeah, he's always gonna. They don't straight out say black. He's always olive skin with dark brown curly hair that touches his forehead. It's always described like that, and you're always like, just say black, just say black.
But
Who do you know walk around with olive skin?
they don't want to say that because then you could imagine as Italian, you could imagine as mixed race and racially ambiguous, and that's supposed to make everyone more comfortable. And I'm just like, these games that y'all are playing, these mind games,
It's always olive skin. Like you know, it's a black character when they describe them as olive skin.
I know.
Even though ain't nothing olive about
No,
this.
it's always weird, and they do that in fantasy too. They do that
Yes,
in fantasy where
have it's way more in fantasy, which is funny.
they do it so much in fantasy because they don't want to like come out with like races, especially if it's like a different world or anything like that. So it just cracks me up. I'll be like, I can't. But
We can rant about that later.
we sure can, girl, because I have a lot to say. And then there's another book that looks interesting, and it's called If It Makes You Happy, and it's by Claire Kahn. And I might actually choose this one because Clear Khan wrote one of my favorite reads of last year. She wrote a book called Let's Talk About Love. I don't know if you guys can see the book cover.
Ooh, I love the actor girl.
Let's Talk About Love. One of my favorite books from last year. When I saw this cover, it kind of brought me to tears because of the girl with 4C hair on the cover. But anyways.
Well, I'm gonna put we can put both of those on the voting thing with them vote.
So her new book, so this is another option that I might go with. Her new book is called If It Makes You Happy, and the girl on the cover really makes me happy too on this one.
Okay.
And
I'm ready.
This one is, I'll read the synopsis. If I can find the synopsis. It says, Winnie is living her best fat girl life and is on her way to the best place on earth. No, not Disneyland, her granny's diner, Goldine's, in the small town of Misty Haven. While there, she works in her fabulous 50s inspired uniform, twirling around the diner floor and earning an obscene amount of tips. With her family and ungirlfriend at her side, ungirlfriend, which I find hilarious. Mm. She has everything she needs for one last perfect summer before starting college in the fall, until she becomes Misty Haven's summer queen in a highly anticipated matchmaking tradition that she wants absolutely nothing to do with. Newly crowned, Winnie is forced to take center stage in photo shoots and a never-ending list of community royal engagements. Almost immediately, she discovers that she's deathly afraid of it all. The spotlight, the obligations, and the way her Merry Haven Summer King wears his heart, humor, and honesty on his sleeve. So it sounds like another romantic comedy type book. And I'm just like, yeah, it's just Black girls living life.
Yep, that's fine by me.
So I might also suggest, I don't know. I'll have to see. Between the two of them, I'm not sure which one I'm going to go with, but it's definitely going to be something light, fluffy, nothing too deep, unless I find something that's a little bit more serious, but it actually looks like it could be.
I think I'm going to just do the Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson.
I love me some Tiffany D. Jackson. Like, she writes serious, but in a way that is, like, good.
I mean, I'm still traumatized by Monday's Not Coming, but I like it.
I can't. That book sounds so sad. I can't.
It's way sadder than you think, actually.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Be reading
but I actually cried at the end of that book because it was, the reveal was kind of sitting there like, oh my God.
That's so
yeah.
sad.
She hit all the heartstrings in that one. This one seems nice and light, so I'm going to pick this one.
Let's see.
Troy, did you want us to read your book choice out loud?
Yeah, I was about to see if she said anything.
Because I think I still have it.
Oh my gosh, Troy, did you see the comment she made about the prince from The Princess and the Frog? I'm crying.
Like I said, we have to, like, that's going to be, we just need to go ahead and schedule another live about no skin.
Yes. We're going to do another live,
another live chat.
We're going to do another live chat that was similar to our last live chat where we were just talking and we were just discussing a whole bunch of different things. Because there have been some developments in the booktube community as well as book Twitter and some other things that we always talk about in our group chat. And so we tend to bring our group chat conversations to YouTube quite often.
Yep.
So we probably will have another. I know you guys enjoy those. A lot of you guys have said that you really enjoy those and you want us to do more of them. So we probably will do another one soon. Not sure when.
Okay.
What?
Troy's book. I just love the title and I love the author's name.
What is it?
It is Black Queer Hill by Brittany Blackrose.
That's right. Okay.
So hold on, I'm trying to pull it. Her name is Brittany Blackrose Capri.
Yes.
So the synopsis is women's sexuality is used as a weapon against them. In the stunning debut, Brittany Black Rose Capri lends her unmistakable voice to the fraught questions of identity, sexuality, reclamation, and power. And in a world that refuses to give her women's permission to define their own lives and values.
This looks so good.
Yeah, I
Brittany,
mean,
you
I'm
might be
okay.
winning this one.
Yeah, we'll see. We're gonna put them all up there.
So
So
it
those
looks like this is
we'll get
it's
the voting
poetry.
to us this weekend.
Did you know that, Troy? It's poetry. It's a book of poems.
Oh, it's a poem.
Yes, that's what everyone says. I'm on Amazon. Everyone in the comments is like, this little book of poems. Said one person.
Oh, okay.
Did
Does
you
it
know
say
that?
this? Yeah, I
Because I
didn't know
know
that.
how Troy feels about poems.
I don't know. But say Troy. Oh yeah. The genre is say poetry, queer, LGBT, feminism, and race. So it is a poetry book.
Yes.
Oh well.
She says she's trying to be better.
Well, I mean, actually, that's it. You got any more things you want to say?
I got nothing else. I'm a little demoralized by all the things that have gone wrong. So
Don't be. Well, on the next one, we have it fixed.
uh, all right, you guys. I will say that we are done. This concludes a Seat at the Table Book Club's June discussion of With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I gave this book four stars, 4.5 stars.
Yeah.
4.5.
I would have given it a 5, but mm,
I'm still trying to decide if
being objective.
I don't think I like it better than the Poet X, but I'm not sure.
I like Poet X writing style better because it was slam poetry.
Yes,
And
can't beat
it
that.
was my first introduction to Elizabeth, so it will always have a special place in my heart.
In your heart, yeah. So we can't wait
So,
to see what else Elizabeth Acevedo writes. For those of you who are wondering, she is a Dominican-American author that is on the rise. We highly recommend the Poet X. Listen to the audiobook, and With the Fire on High was excellent. Definitely.
and both audiobooks are available on Hoopla,
Hoopla.
iCloud Library, and I think RGB Digital. As long as you have a library card, it's free, so no excuses.
Yes. So with that being said, we are going to sign off for the evening. I hope everyone has a lovely night, and we will catch you in our next live stream.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining, everyone.